Everyone, and welcome to this short recorded message about the forthcoming learning walks, which are going to be taking place over the next couple of weeks. And they're going to be focusing specifically on the implementation of our Rodborough lesson routines. So I just wanted to start by saying a huge thank you for all your hard work over the last half term in really going for it, in trying to implement our routines, our lesson routines, our procedural routines for every lesson. So we've been working really hard on the start and end of the lesson and carrying on from where we started last year, but also I can see some real, some lovely examples of where colleagues are implementing strong deliberate instruction and then strong deliberate practice and really working with the children to get these things right. So thank you for all your hard work. So in terms of what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks, it's really a temperature check of where we're at with embedding these routines across the school, so that we know what we need to carry on working on to make sure that they are fully embedded over the next couple of months at the end of the year, so that they become part and parcel of our working daily life. So in terms of what's going to be happening, all middle leaders and senior leaders have been asked to conduct a series of learning walks over the next couple of weeks, focusing specifically on those lesson routines in our lessons. So they're not going to be looking for anything else, just literally the implementation of those routines at the start, the end, and the middle of the lesson. Now, some of those learning walks will be joint, so between a middle leader and either myself or another senior leader, or between two middle leaders. So we've asked subject leads to go around with year leads. So some of those learning walks will be joint. You'll have two people in your lesson, and then others will be conducted on an individual basis, either by a middle leader or a senior leader on their own. Okay, so sometimes you may have two people in your room, sometimes you may have one. In terms of what our aim is, the objective is to try and watch every teaching colleague with one of their classes at least once before Friday the 8th of December. The learning walks will last no longer than 10 to 15 minutes, really 15 minutes max, and they won't be any shorter than, say, 10 minutes. Because to really capture a routine in action, you need to kind of stay for 10, 15 minutes. And they can take place at any point in the lesson. Now, at this point, it's really important to say that these lessons, or your next lessons over the next couple of weeks, require absolutely no additional preparation. What we want to see is usual practice. So I don't want anybody worrying that they have to, plan additional things and, make sure that they, shoehorn in all the routines, especially the independent practice and paired and group practice and turn and talk. We're not looking for any of that. What we want to see is usual practice and how the routines are becoming part and parcel of every lesson. So please do not panic and worry about this, and do not do any additional planning. Okay. In terms of why these routines, why these learning walks are important, well, they're important, as I said, for us as a school to take a temperature check so that we can action plan for full implementation over the next couple of months. But also they're going to be important for every teaching colleague, because in everybody's appraisal this year, the implementation of the routines is the first pedagogical growth target. So everybody has that set as a pedagogical growth target. So the outcome of these learning walks can be used as the soft evidence for review point 1, which is coming up in January, 22nd of Jan. Now, as I said earlier, because the learning walks are only short in nature, they're not full observations, it's probably going to be likely that you're going to need a couple of learning walks, so 2 or 3 at least, people coming into your lessons 2 or 3 times to actually capture progress against the majority of the routines. So that's why we've said actually these learning walks are probably going to continue after Christmas, between the 8th and the 19th of January. So hopefully you'll have been seen enough times for people to be able to give you enough evidence of how those routines are being embedded in your teaching practice. And again, it allows for us to see you with different classes and so on and so forth. So just a heads up of what's going to be happening in January as well. Now, in terms of what you'll receive as a result of these learning walks, so people will come into your class and watch you execute these the routines, and you're going to receive some feed forward on your practice in two ways. Now, just want to pause there and talk about that word feed forward. So I don't actually like the word feedback, because for me that means that you're looking back on somebody's practice and you're kind of deconstructing what they've done, which is helpful to a certain extent. But really what we're looking to do here is to give you some information to go away with to further improve your practice. So from what we've seen, this is what we'd like you to do. And this is how it's going to make you an excellent practitioner, or really fully embed these routines into your practice. So you're going to receive feed forward in two ways. Now, the first one for me is the most important, and all middle leaders and senior leaders are being trained on how to conduct this. But basically, for every learning walk that you receive or is conducted in your lesson that focuses on these routines, you will be invited to have a coaching conversation with the person who watched you. Okay, and that's either between you and your subject lead, you and your year lead, you and a senior leader. Okay, and they will contact you. That person will contact you shortly after the learning work to arrange a time. Now, these conversations are brief. They're 5 to 10 minutes, but it's an opportunity for you to discuss what happened in your lesson, discuss what the person saw, and most importantly, to agree together an actionable formative target or objective, just one, okay, that will help you fully embed the routine in the future. So it's really important that that conversation is positive and it's a springboard to future action. So that's the first thing that you will receive, and everybody will receive that. Once that's happened, you will then receive a document with some written feedback or feed forward. But what that document will do, and I'll show you, I'll guide you to the document in this email to have a look at. But what it will do is it will detail the observable strengths in relation to the routine that's been observed. And it will also make a record of what you have agreed in your coaching conversation of what your actionable formative target or objective is to help you fully embed the routine. So it's a record of the conversation you've had. Now, in terms of how you will receive that written feed forward, every colleague who's conducting a learning walk, so a middle leader or senior leader, has been asked to complete a Google form. Now, attached to this email is a PDF copy of that Google form, and I would strongly encourage you to have a look at it. Because what you'll notice is it will detail what the person watching you is looking at or looking for. And for every routine, you'll notice that it's broken down into some steps, and those we've called the observable strengths. So as the person who's watching you watches you conduct that routine, they will basically make a little note of what strength in relation to that routine they've actually seen. What have they seen you do that's an observable strength? And then for the routine that they actually watch or see in action, there's a little bit of space there to write the actionable formative target or objective that they want you to work on. Now, once that Google form has been completed by the middle leader or senior leader observing you, they will click send, and what that will generate is a Word document called a record of observation and feed forward, and you have a copy attached to this email for you to have a look at. And this will basically be a summary of what is completed on the Google form, okay? And this is what you keep, and it will be emailed to you, and this is your written record of what the person observed and the coaching conversation that you've had. And please do keep that, because that's the soft evidence that you can use in your appraisal. So please do kind of file these and keep them safe, because you'll have a lot of these by the end of the year. And we've asked all subject leads to also retain a copy of anybody who is observed in their department. So either they do the observation or someone else does it, but your subject lead will also retain a copy of that record for their own record, so they can use it to plan their SPDSs and support everybody in the department. So please do have a look at those 2 PDF versions, because that's what you will receive, and that's what will be used when during the learning walks. So in terms of what subject leads will then do with this information, so once everybody in their department's been watched, and they will receive all this, they'll either have watched everybody or someone else will have watched them, and they'll receive the written feed forward. Subject leads have been asked to use Monday the 11th of December, SPDS time, to really look at what are the common successes and strengths that have been observed within their department in terms of the learning, in terms of the routines, but then also look at some of the trends and themes and areas for development from those learning walks, and to then action plan again. Okay, so if there's a common routine that's not been implemented to its fullest extent in a particular department, what can we do then to make sure it is implemented in January or in the spring term? So that's an opportunity for the whole team to get together and really dissect the outcomes of those learning walks, and middle leaders will receive some guidance on how to prep that SPDS, so that everybody's aware that that's coming up on the 11th of December. Just to say at this point, all appraisers have really been encouraged to make sure that the first people that they do a learning walk on is their appraisee. But then also, if you are a subject lead and you don't appraise everybody in your department, subject leads have been encouraged to make sure that they watch as many people in their department as possible, especially in preparation for this SPDS on Monday the 11th. And finally, I know that some people will have questions about this, about what if other people come into my lesson, and what am I to expect feed forward every time somebody comes into my lesson? And the answer is no. So other learning walks will continue to take place over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, because if senior leaders who are on call, they frequently come in and out of lessons, and it's lovely to do that. I will continue to come in and out of your lessons, and my job is to always be taking a temperature check of the teaching and across the school, and often it's diagnostic for me to kind of think about, okay, what have we really got to work on? And then our school in action tools will continue. Colleagues from the WMAT will carry on coming into our lessons. So you will have people carrying on coming into lessons, and thank you so much for having an open door policy and welcoming other people into your lessons. Now, the difference between these and learning walks that are focusing on routines and that you can expect feed forward from is that they will be shorter and briefer. So they will know, if I'm coming into a lesson just to take a temperature check, I won't usually stay for more than 5-7 minutes. If I stay for longer than that and I see something and I see a routine, then absolutely I might be able to contact you and have a coaching conversation and give you some feed forward. But usually, if I'm staying for less than 5 to 7 minutes, it doesn't mean I won't be contacting you, and other people won't be contacting you to have that coaching conversation. So just to put people's minds at rest, that other people will carry on coming into lessons, but they won't always generate a coaching conversation. So hopefully that is clear in terms of what's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks and how the learning walks will be conducted. Again, please, 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 we do not expect people to do any additional planning or worrying about any of these. We just need to see usual practice in action, because that's the best way for us to know what's really going on, and for us to work together and grow together to make sure that we fully implement these routines, and they become part and parcel of the Rodborough fabric. So thank you again for your hard work with the routines. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in and around the school in the next couple of days. Thank you very much.